This is breaking news.
Walking them down 3rd. And thank you, Marcus. Okay, Eric, if we can just slide a little bit to the south so I can just see the sidewalk there. Okay, that's good. Thank you. This on NYU's campus, being led to the police bus. We've already seen 2 people put on here. We've seen over 24 people being arrested tonight. And this all stems from the activity that's been going on here for a good portion of the day, where they had an encampment built over here on Gould Plaza. That's this area down here in the center of your video. You can see some of the things stacked up over here. They had tents, they had tables, they had an encampment down there for a good portion of the day, and right around 8:30, police came in and started taking down the tents and started moving people away from the area. We can see still many protesters on the steps of Gould Plaza and the business school. As a matter of fact, it looks like the protesters are now starting to make their way down West 4th Street over towards Mercer, it looks like. We've seen another group splinter off from this area and went down West 3rd Street, which is what we were just showing you a few minutes ago, right over here. And at one point, they were blocking the intersection down here by LaGuardia Place. So quite a few demonstrations now going on throughout the campus of NYU, but the thing we're focusing on at the moment is the arrest of several protesters. You can see the police over there on the left side of your screen going along West 3rd Street. And we see another person being put onto the police bus. Again, these are all pro-Palestinian protesters who have been here for a good portion of the day. Very similar to what we saw uptown at Columbia University. And you can see as the police move around the area. We'll just take a look around the campus a little bit, see if we can see where that group over here on West 4th. They seem to be making their way up Mercer. So we'll try to keep an eye on that group as well as they make their way through the lower Manhattan area at this point. And that looks like a good bulk of the people who were standing in front of the business school. You still have some folks left here on the steps. You see a wall of police officers at the top of the steps preventing people from getting onto Gould Plaza. And again, as some of those folks mill about, we have the one protest making its way up Mercer Street at this point. Not quite clear where they will end up. And to give you an idea of where we are, right in the center of your video, that's Washington Square Park. We do see a lot of protests end up over here many times. They can go up to Union Square, which is about 10 blocks away from here in the uptown area. But again, it looks like the police, there we go. You can see them bringing a few more of the protesters up to the police bus. Like I said, we watched them handcuff roughly 24 protesters. And they are just very orderly. making their way over to the bus. We don't see any of the protesters pushing back with the police. We can tell you that when we did see the police move in, they started taking down the tents over here in front of the business school. The group of people that were gathered here on the steps and on the plaza were hurling objects towards the police. We saw water bottles smashing on the ground. And as we watched the police move the different items off of the plaza as they went to go and arrest the protesters who were still up there in front of the business school. Again, we see some of the folks that are still making their way around West 4th Street. That's what you're looking at down here. You see another small group just walking down the street. And we did see one of the groups go up Mercer and, well, there we go, Washington Place. That's where they seem to have turned on to, and of course that would line them up with Washington Square Park. So if I had to guess, I would say this group is going to end up in the park in just a few minutes. And again, we had seen another group splinter off earlier. They went down West 3rd Street, which is where you saw the police bus, and haven't seen them reform just yet. Although we look over here, and I believe this is where they all ended up. So that would appear to be where the next group of people, the first group of people, had gone. And let's see, they went into one of the buildings over here. Hard to tell from this angle which building that is. It is part of the NYU campus, it looks like. Let's see if we can get a bearing on where we're looking at over here. And it looks like the back of another police van is opened up. It looks like a few more people are being placed under arrest, perhaps. And you see the police at the back of the van. It's hard to tell if this is a center for the performing arts or the Islamic Center. You know, those buildings are next to each other down here on this part of the campus. Again, all on the south side of Washington Square Park. And again, we see that group that we saw go up Mercer. They're now making a left and going down Washington Square East. Oops, sorry, folks. Again, at the moment, they seem to be walking around the streets of the campus area. Perhaps they'll join the other group that is down here. See NYU security down here. Again, all this is taking place on the campus of NYU, and they're all in the area of Washington Square Park. Looks like he's trying to get into another building perhaps over here. It's a little hard to tell. Which is more likely. So as they make their way to that area, you can see some of the police barricades that are off to the side of the road now. So as they make their way down that way, they should come back over here to West 3rd. You guys wait for them to make their way through that area. We'll come back in front of the business school, and you can see the debris that is left behind here. The remnants of the protest that was here for a good portion of the day. Police have already moved most of the tents out of here. And again, a few of the protesters still over here on West 4th Street. Again, we watch the back end of that group continue down towards the south. And we see them emerge over here on West 3rd. Not quite clear what they're going to do just yet. And like I said, while they all get back together over there on West 3rd, we see a few more protesters still being led to the police buses over here behind the business school, the Stern School of Business. Again, you can see the line of people that they have arrested waiting their turn to get onto the bus. And we did see up to 4 police buses out here when they were raiding the plaza over here in front of the business school. We'll come back over here and see where our group has collected down the street from where the police buses are. And you can see they have their signs up there, people taking pictures. Obviously a very fluid situation down here as the police start to move their way over to where this group has assembled now. And they're just walking up here. We don't see them doing much just yet other than walking through the crowd. Unless you need to. And just talking to our pilot there. So again, this is where the group has come to a stop for the moment. You see the hands clapping there, and the banners are being bounced there in front of that group. And while they'll continue to protest over there, let's come back and look at our corrections buses, the NYPD buses over here. And again, we had seen several people being led to those buses. It looks like most of the people who were lined up have been brought to the one bus. We saw the other bus backing up the street here. And again, if you are just joining us, police within the last hour moved into the encampment that was set up on Gould Plaza right in front of the Stern Business School, School of Business, on the campus of NYU. They started taking down the tents that were set up for most of the day and started arresting people. While they were doing that, people from the crowd were throwing objects over towards where the police were working. And again, we did see at least a couple of dozen people being arrested by the police, being led away with their hands cuffed. We saw them being put onto those buses we were just showing you a few minutes ago. This group, we had seen them leave the School of Business at one point, started walking around the streets of the NYU campus and end up over here on West 3rd Street, not far from the School of Business. And for a short time now, they've been having their rally, their protest here in the middle of the street. And if you look close enough in the center of the video, you can see people holding signs. You see more people moving in behind over on the sidewalk area over here. Obviously a little hard to see through the trees down there. But we have seen police move into the area as well. But so far, no arrests have been made with this group of people that have gathered on West 3rd Street. But again, we'll keep an eye on that over there for you as well. Just to give you a little perspective, this building right here, that is the NYU School of Business. And you can still see some people over here on the West 4th Street side still gathered near the steps. There is a wall of police that has been formed at the top of the stairs, keeping people away from the entrance of the business school. You still see some people with signs over here on the sidewalk, some people still milling about in the streets in front of the School of Business. See many people carrying objects through the crowd there. Actually, before we go back to the crowd, we see some movement down here with some of the buses that the NYPD brought in. See a lot of pictures being taken. This appears to be one of the buses that the protesters were placed onto. Please begin to move away from that area. We'll go back up the street a little bit here, or out to the west. Looks like now the group that had gathered on West 3rd are going to continue their march on south. Again, they're going to go through the campus. This is an area known as Washington Square Village. So we'll see where they go from here as they continue their marching through the streets here of Lower Manhattan. As they walk there, we can keep an eye and see the group getting some stragglers there. Some people make their way down towards Bleecker Street. Again, a lot of the housing here is where they're walking at the moment. Still staying within the confines of NYU. And again, this one's more of a spur of the moment march. A lot of times when we've seen these rallies and these marches going through the city, they usually have a front group, people on bicycles and what have you, that will run in front of the group and stop traffic on either direction or either side of the roadway to allow the group to continue their marching without having to worry about the vehicular traffic on the streets. Over on West 4th Street. Now they're making their way down through the university area, working their way towards Houston Street, it looks like. Again, go by the high rises. There's Houston over there. And you can see over here the police vehicle trying to catch up. See some of the people there trying to keep traffic at a standstill, trying to allow the protesters to get across the street safely. And while they make their way down towards Houston, let's take one more look back here. We see the police buses moving away. Over on the right side of the video, we see some protesters still standing outside of the School of Business. That's West 4th Street on the right side. The buses are on West 3rd Street. Like I said, we'll go through the housing area here, and we'll wait for them to make their way over towards Bleecker. I'm sorry, not Bleecker, Houston. Just trying to see what those buses are doing at the moment. Looks like they're just going to make their way through the crowd. Looks like more police over there. Let's see, as they go by the high rises, now we can see The protesters have now made their way over towards Houston Street. Just kind of milling about Houston. If you want Eric, let's go south a little bit and see if we can see the group coming out on the Houston Street there. Thank you. Like I said, we'll just talking to our pilot there as we move the helicopter a little further south. It looks like they're going to make their way along West Houston Street. Some of those signs that they are holding. And again, these are some of the signs they had over at the School of Business over at NYU. See how far that group stretches back. They'll be making their way over towards the Broadway area next. Again, normally what we would see when you have a protest like this moving through the city is the police would normally follow behind, but right now I think the police are just trying to play catch up a little bit here, trying to catch up to this group. Not even sure they're aware of where the group has migrated to. You see more of the protesters catching up in the back there, top right side of your video. So this group definitely getting bigger as they continue along West Houston. And for the most part, this group just peacefully marching their way through the streets of Lower Manhattan. See holding their signs and just walking down the street. Okay, Eric, they're making a left on the screen, right in real life down towards Broadway, it looks like. And you can see, folks, the traffic on Broadway there, right side of your screen, going towards the protesters, being forced to go right or left. As the group makes a right-hand turn onto Broadway, and of course this will bring them down towards City Hall and possibly over towards Foley Square. Sometimes these groups, when we see them marching through this area of Manhattan, they do end up at one of the bridges every once in a while, so we'll have to wait and see where this group goes. But right now they're going to go south on Broadway. You see they've kind of spread out a bit on Broadway, taking up all the lanes, some people going up on the sidewalks. See the folks on the left-hand side with the flags running down along with the group, carrying their flags. And again, they'll make their way down Broadway. We'll keep an eye on them and see where they end up. If they end up at City Hall Park, over by Foley Square. That is yet to be determined. A little ways yet before we get down to that section of Manhattan. Yeah, we'll bring our camera a little bit wider for you and just kind of give you an idea how far down Broadway they'd have to go to get to the City Hall area. Again, a little hard to see with the buildings here, but you see where all those trees are poking out from the one building there. That's City Hall Park. And over here, that's Foley Square in front of the courthouses. So there is still a bit of a way for this group to go before they get down there, if that is where they're going to. And again, if you are just joining us here on the live stream, what you're watching is a rally, a protest going down Broadway. But this all goes back to the encampment that was set up on NYU's campus at the School of Business for a good portion of the day, much like what we've been seeing for the past week up at Columbia University. A group of protesters set up camp in Gould Plaza, which is right in front of the Stern School of Business at NYU. And they had their tents there, and they were camped out there for a good portion of the day. And roughly an hour ago, we got word that police were starting to make their way into where these folks were camped out. And when we arrived on the scene a little less than an hour ago, we saw police moving in and taking down the tents, and they started to arrest some people. Some of the crowd that was gathered there started throwing objects in the direction of the police. We saw water bottles smashing on the ground. We saw over 24 people being arrested at the business school there, and they were loaded onto police buses that were nearby. But we did see a group of people break off and start marching through the streets, and that's the group we're watching here. So keep an eye on them for a couple of minutes more. And for the moment, we're going to talk to our assignment desk, Chopper 2, CBS Desk.